Hi everybody, in today's video, I have a little bit of a different background going here. I just am not able to get down into the position where I normally film, so I may have this background in a couple of videos going forward. But I just wanted to talk a little bit today about what I've been doing on my break. It wasn't really technically a break. I kind of put it out that way just because I wasn't ready to really share with everybody what exactly was going on. But now a few weeks have passed and I just feel a little bit more at ease with everything and in a little bit of a better place. So I just want to give you guys a little bit of an update for anybody that's interested. I do want to say I'm going to be discussing a lot of women's health issues. So if you're not comfortable hearing about those kind of things, you may want to click off now. And this will not have any polished content in it. So if you're not interested in really hearing about my health stuff, I understand. So you might just want to click off this video. So on October 29th, I went for an annual checkup with my gynecologist. And a little bit of backstory. So 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with uterine fibroids. I was starting to have really heavy flow for my periods. And I noticed that my cramps were getting a little bit more intense. I was taking ibuprofen and doing stuff like that, but the cramps were just more painful. So 5 years ago, I was sent for a ultrasound, an ultrasound where they actually do it internally, vaginally. And there they discovered I had 3 uterine fibroids. What those are they're growths that grow inside your uterus or in the lining of your uterus. They're usually benign, and they can either stay the same size or they can grow. So at that time, all of the fibroids I had were extremely small. They were about dime size. And so the doctor put me on continual birth control. I would only have 4 periods a year. That way, even though the periods sucked, they would be more spaced out, and hopefully, that would kind of alleviate some of my problems and my symptoms. So I did that for probably 3 years, and then I noticed my pain and my bleeding getting more intense. So after 3 years of being diagnosed, I went in for another ultrasound just to monitor fibroid size, see if anything had grown, see if I had developed more fibroids. And at that time, the fibroids had grown. The largest one was now the size of a small apricot, so maybe about that large. And then the 2 other ones remained fairly small. They had grown maybe to like quarter size, and that's pretty much what had happened. Around that time, I also started having like an increase in my anxiety. A really extreme increase in my anxiety. We had an anxiety relapse, as you guys are aware. I've talked about that pretty openly on my channel. And so I was referred to a psychologist around that time, just trying to, I was having a really hard time functioning, going to work, driving, things like that. So the psychiatrist ran a blood panel of things that they look for basically that can be tied to anxiety for people. So they did a more intense thyroid workup. They checked my iron levels. They checked for like zinc, vitamin deficiencies, things like that. So during that blood work from my psychiatrist, I was found to be anemic. And so referred me to my regular doctor. And my regular doctor did a workup on my iron levels, and I was put on iron supplements to try and raise my iron levels. I did that for about a year. My iron did come up. It never returned fully to normal levels, but it did come up. But what was interesting during this time is the psychiatrist that I went to actually had done some work in like women's health, and so she was like, I wouldn't be taking birth control if I were you. The birth control feeds the fibroid growth, which is something my gynecologist had never even mentioned to me. So I quit taking my birth control. I went in to see my gynecologist, and I basically asked him, like, is there a correlation there? And he said that there was. It's like a payoff, if so the birth control was alleviating some of the period symptoms, like the cramping and the bloating and things like that. My mood but the bleeding was more intense when I was on the pill. So once I quit the pill, my bleeding did subside quite a bit. I was going for maybe like 7 heavy days a month, like extremely heavy days a month. When I quit the pill, I cut down to maybe like 1.5 to 2 heavy days a month, which was nice, but the cramping became extreme, and the bloating became extreme. And also my mood. I noticed about 2 days before my cycle would start, I would be like in a total rage, like road rage. I not my normal self at all, and it's something I had never really noticed during my period before. So basically, at that time, my doctor did suggest a hysterectomy, and I was really scared because of my anxiety, like the fear of the unknown. Was it a good decision? With my doctor, I made the decision to just keep monitoring the fibroids for size. That was 2 years ago. And my periods were, very intense. I was missing, like, birthday parties. I was missing work sometimes, like if it would get really bad, just because I was so uncomfortable. I stayed anemic during this time as well. And then last year I went and I monitored my fibroids again for size. They had grown slightly. The largest one had grown a little bit. The other two had grown a little bit as well. My doctor suggested hysterectomy again, and I was kind of like, I don't think I'm ready. Mentally, I don't feel like I'm ready. My anxiety is really, really bad. And I was not a candidate for like ablation, basically where they burn the uterus lining. I was not a candidate for that. There's something called a myomectomy where they can go in and remove the fibroids, but that's usually for women that are younger that are trying to preserve their fertility. Since I was older, and I was having kids, my doctor was like, I don't really suggest that for you. I mean, you can do it if you want. I was just anti any surgery because I was just so afraid. I've never had surgery before, and I was terrified. So we monitored for size again. Then around February, April of this year, I really started noticing some very extreme changes around my time of the month. About 2 days before my cycle would start, I would get like these very, very intense cramps. It was like a labor pain. Not like full on ready to push labor pain, but like, maybe your 4 or 5 centimeters labor pain. I would take ibuprofen, 3 ibuprofen, 200 milligrams, and it would just not alleviate any of the pain whatsoever. I would use heating pads, just anything basically to try and get rid of that pain. A lot of my labor pains would be a lot of my cramps would be in my back. I would also get some very intense sciatic nerve pain. And I would get a lot of like stabbing in my stomach region. And I started working from home during my periods because I just could not leave the house. I was in so much pain. I would also get extremely, extremely bloated. If I have a good picture, I'll post it. I took several pictures to send to my mom and sister, like, holy cow, you guys, look at this. But I would literally look 9 months pregnant. My clothes wouldn't fit. I would have to wear leggings because my stomach would be so bloated and hard. And I would actually have a hard time moving around. My husband would sometimes have to help me get off the couch or get out of bed because like I would go to stand up and I would get like so much stabbing. I would like almost like take my breath away and like keel over in pain. So I started working from home towards the beginning of the year, maybe like in April or May, during like the first 3 days of my period, because I would just be very, very uncomfortable. And then I also noticed that I was passing a lot of like blood clots during my period as well. And I was also having a lot of stomach issues during my time of the month. Like, usually when you get kind of crampy, you do get a little bit of like stomach issues, but mine were like very, very intense. Like, 5 times worse than I remember them being. I don't even remember how a regular period feels, to be honest with you guys. It's been so long since I feel like I've had one. So I don't really remember what that feels like, but so as time progressed, as you guys know, I had been trying to do some workouts, like doing 2 45-minute workouts a day, And I noticed that, like, even when I was doing all these working out, like, I would just feel like I looked pregnant. During my period, it would be, 8 to 9 months pregnant. But during regular times during the month, not on my period, I felt like I looked like 3 or 4 months pregnant all the time. And I would text my sister and be like, I don't know. And I was just gaining weight and gaining weight and gaining weight. I was gaining a pound or two every month, which was kind of troubling to me. And just the periods and the pain and the discomfort and the bloating just got so uncomfortable. So in October, I brought all this up to my doctor, and I was just like, I feel like something's changed. I feel like something's different, and I'm not sure if the fibroids are growing. I'm not sure, I'm not sure what's going on, but something's different. I feel just more uncomfortable. And so he did an exam, and they actually found some growths on my vaginal wall that were not there the year before. And then my cervix was extremely irritated and inflamed. My doctor basically described it as angry. And I also had a tilted uterus. He could tell all that just from, the pelvic exam that they do. And so he was actually planning to suggest maybe me getting a IUD. But once those growths were found, everything changed. I was referred to a gynecological oncologist. So that happened the day before my birthday. And from there, like, everything was just a blur. When someone says the word oncologist to you, it's like, do you think I have cancer? I had to go the same day and get some blood work done. They scheduled me for a CT scan. I was extremely nervous. My anxiety was high. Shockingly, for having an anxiety disorder, I did feel like I handled it fairly well. But I was very, just very tearful and very worried, the unknown. And it was really scary because I was like, what if I do have cancer? What if something is extremely wrong? I should have had my hysterectomy 2 years ago, like my doctor suggested, and I didn't. And for my CT scan, which was very terrifying to me because I've never had anything like that done before, I had to drink some dye. I had to get a dye put in an IV and, get a scan done. And then I met with the oncologist a week or two later. Everything was very rushed. My doctor called in a personal favor to his friend that is an oncologist. They went to medical school together. She squeezed me in for an appointment. My husband was able to go with me to that, and basically there she felt the same growths my doctor did. She had the results of my scan, and so basically the scan showed that my largest fibroid had grown to the size of a lime. So it was about that large, and it was on the top part of my uterus, and that was causing the weight for my uterus to tilt to the side inside my abdominal cavity. And then there was the 3 other fibroids there, and those were the size of like quarters to 50-cent pieces. And there was also other ones, but the sizes could not be determined. So the fibroid that I had been diagnosed with 5 years ago had tripled in size, and the other ones had grown, kind of significantly. And they also found that my uterus was double the size it was supposed to be. The doctor said that a average size uterus is around 6 centimeters. My uterus was 11.5 centimeters. And then of course there were those growths. So those growths were biopsied, and then this doctor was like, we can keep monitoring for size if that's what you want to do, but I highly recommend just getting everything taken out. And if it is cancerous, like, that's what you're gonna have to do. So my husband and I had been having a lot of talks. He was like, you're miserable. I know that you try really hard to push through every month, but like, we can see it. Like, me and the boys can see your pain. And I'm sorry, you guys. And like, can see your dread every month, knowing that it's almost time to have to deal with that again. And I feel like that appointment was kind of very validating for me. My mom, my sister, none of my aunts, basically no women in my family have these types of issues, and so I felt like maybe my anxiety was making me dread the period more, or like maybe I was making myself feel worse because of, anxiety. Like I can give myself a lot of physical like symptoms with my anxiety. And so I basically felt like I needed to be tougher, or like why couldn't I man up and just, or woman up and, just deal with this. And so knowing that things were actually wrong, um, even though it was scary, was very validating for me. Um, so they did the biopsy in her office, and a few days later, that was found to not be cancer. It was found to be endometriosis, which I had never heard of or been talked to by my doctor at all. So they scheduled my hysterectomy for November 24th. And my doctor's plan was basically to do a Da Vinci style hysterectomy, which is laparoscopic. So I have right now 5 holes in my stomach. I might post a picture, we'll see, I don't know. But they basically put 5 holes in your stomach, and those where the robot arms go, and then that's how they kind of do the removal of things internally. And then my uterus was removed vaginally. They couldn't cut my uterus up into pieces because they weren't sure if anything was cancerous, and I guess when they cut things up, if it is cancerous, that can spread the cancer. So I went into surgery very unsure what exactly was going to happen, which was scary. They weren't sure if they were going to be able to take my uterus out vaginally due to size. They also weren't sure if they were going to find cancer. And then the endometriosis that they found on the vaginal wall, they weren't sure exactly what they were going to find when they opened me up. So that was really scary. I signed a consent for them to do just like whatever was medically necessary once they were inside. And the day of the surgery, I was nervous, but I was not like in full meltdown mode like I was anticipating. My husband could not go with me to the hospital. He couldn't stay with me overnight. So basically it was like a solo mission, which was a little scarier. But everyone at the hospital, I feel like, knows you're alone and they know you're afraid, and they were very, very kind and compassionate, which was amazing. I went into surgery, and when I came out, discovered I had stage 4 endometriosis. So if you are not aware of what endometriosis is, the lining of your uterus starts growing outside of your uterus, and you get things called adhesions, and these adhesions can I forgot the word my doctor used, but they can that was the word she used. They can fuse your insides together. Stage 4 is like the worst stage that you can have. And then I also had something called, I think it's pronounced endomyosis, but the lining of my uterus was like thickened and enlarged. So when she opened me up, she had to clean up all of these endometriosis adhesions. My uterus was stuck to my bladder. I was also having bladder issues. I forgot to mention that. I felt like I couldn't hold it as long, and sometimes like when I had to go, like I had to go. And I actually would get a little bit of leakage. I know this is all TMI, you guys, but I'm just hoping this will help somebody. I was getting a little bit of leakage. When I would work out a lot, I would notice sometimes I would get some leakage, like, if I was jumping or doing things like that. So I did notice my bladder just felt like it was not being able to hold as much. I would also get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom as well. So my uterus was stuck to my bladder with endometriosis adhesions. The whole outside of my uterus was covered with endometriosis, and it was adhered to like one side of my abdominal cavity. I don't know if that was part of the tilting or not. My doctor didn't say, and I just forgot to ask. But I also had a large cyst on one of my ovaries, and that cyst was part of an endometriosis. They call them some sort of cyst, I don't remember. But there was endometriosis attached to that. My other ovary was fine and healthy. And then they also found that my part of my intestines are fused to my vaginal wall. So my doctor was not able to clean up those adhesions. She said that it was a very tight space, and it was like cemented, and so that had to stay. She was too nervous to try and attempt to separate those things. So I do think that does cause some of my digestion issues possibly, but that had to stay. So basically she cleaned up as much endometriosis as she could. She separated my bladder from my uterus. My uterus was able to be delivered vaginally. They did a biopsy on my bladder. They did a biopsy on the cyst that was found on my ovary. They did a biopsy on the lining of my uterus. They did a biopsy on the fibroids that were in my uterus. And then they also did a small biopsy of like my abdominal cavity. So thankfully, and thanks to God, nothing was cancerous. So that was amazing. But I still have, and I was also able to keep my ovaries, which thank God, because that was a decision I made. So if you take the ovaries, they hope that the endometriosis kind of dies down. As long as you have ovaries, you're still able to ovulate, and you're still able to give off hormones that can feed endometriosis in the future. I may need surgeries later to do other excisions of endometrial growths depending how things progress. There is no cure for endometriosis. I may need to have my ovaries removed at a later date. My doctor did say, ovaries do have memory. These cysts can grow back, things like that. And I have to do some follow-ups with some other doctors. So I have to go for a colonoscopy to see if they can see any damage from that fusion between my vaginal wall and my insides, intestines. Also, they did have to remove a portion of my vaginal wall where the endometriosis had grown. And then I may have to go into a medically induced menopause for 6 months to try and just like calm the endometriosis down. That's how my doctor described it. She did say that that is a very mentally and physically hard. So I'm very nervous about that. I've read up on some of the things that they do for that, and it does seem to cause a lot of emotional distress. And as someone that is already predisposed to emotional distress, that does scare me. But I am hoping that everything that's been done will help me going forward. I kind of have to wait till my next ovulation to sort of see how I'm gonna feel. She said basically I could still have some cramping. I could have some extreme cramping still because they were not able to clean all the endometriosis out. But at least I will not be having my intense bleeding. After I heal a little bit more from surgery, I have to work on getting my iron levels back up. Luckily they were high enough that I did not need any like blood transfusions before surgery or during or after surgery, so that was also good. There's still a lot of stuff up in the air. Everything happened really fast. I met my doctor October 29th. I had my hysterectomy November 24th. It was just like a whirlwind. I felt like I was caught in this like tornado. And I feel like I just had a really hard time processing everything for myself personally. And that's why I was like very reluctant to share. I just didn't feel like I was mentally capable of sharing that news with a lot of people. If you notice the bruise on my hand, I had to go draw blood. So after surgery, I stayed in the hospital overnight. I was actually amazed how little pain I was in. They pump your body full of gas though for the surgery, and that was probably the most uncomfortable part, is you just have all this like gas pressure and bloating and swelling. But overall the pain was really, really low. I'm off of work for 6 weeks. I'll be going to work after the new year. So about 4 days in, I was feeling really good, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna stop taking my pain pills because I'm crazy like that. And I got really, really uncomfortable. But what was shocking to me is I was less uncomfortable, like considerably less uncomfortable than I was every month for a period. I had organs taken out of my body. I've had surgery, major surgery, and my monthly periods were more painful than that. That was mind-blowing to me, and it was very upsetting. Like, I had suffered for so long for no reason besides fear. I don't know if I would have had a hysterectomy sooner, if that would have slowed the growth of the endometriosis. I'll never know the answers to that. But luckily I'm trying to look at the positives, and the positives were nothing was cancerous. I was able to have the least invasive type of surgery that there is. And I'm very lucky, that things have gone as smoothly as they have. I still do like heating pads and ice. I take ibuprofen, 600 milligrams every night. I came home without pain pills, which is amazing. I've been able to walk around. I'm getting maybe about a mile worth of steps every day just walking around my house. I've been able to get into some light housework, cook myself some basic meals. So I'm doing pretty well. My doctor's pretty happy with my progress, but I was getting some low grade fevers a few days after surgery, so I had to go draw blood again to just check for infection, and the guy there just like totally jacked me up. I always draw blood out of my hand because I have really small, hard to find veins on my arms, and this dude did not. He did not do a good job. It doesn't hurt anymore. It was a little sore for a couple days, but there was no infection, so that was good. Overall, I'm feeling really well. I'm a little nervous, like for what is still unknown, and the possibilities of, the treatments that have to happen going forward, the possibilities of other surgeries in the future. But overall, I've been very blessed with this whole situation. My doctors were amazing. She was very knowledgeable and compassionate. My regular gynecologist, is very thorough. He's very good. And my surgeon was actually like, this was an amazing catch by him. A lot of doctors would not have been able to even find this. So I'm very thankful to my doctor for finding it, and just everybody going through things very quickly and making my care a priority. My husband's been amazing through this. My kids have been amazing through this. They've taken great care of me. I'm not used to being taken care of. I am usually the caretaker, so that's been really hard. And I'm also not a rester. I'm one of those people that's like go 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 go. I think that is a product of my anxiety. I try not to sit idly for a long time because my mind tends to, wander. So laying around a lot has been pretty hard for me, but I guess I'm getting used to it. I've been binge watching some TV shows. I have felt good enough to sit up for a couple of hours at a time to do my nails. I've mixed my own polish. So overall, I've been very lucky with how everything's gone. I've noticed a lot of my swelling in my stomach has gone down, and I actually feel like the least pregnant feeling and bloated feeling I felt in months. I still have some swelling. My doctor said that'll probably take up to 2 to 3 months to completely resolve. My scars should be very minimal. She was able to save my butterfly tattoo on my stomach, which was nice. She's like, I didn't want to mess this up. So I was happy with that. And overall, hopefully, going forward, I'll just keep getting better and better. I have noticed a lot less pain in my back, which has been good. Because before surgery, I was getting a lot of like back and sciatic pain. A lot of that has cleared up. So overall, I feel really good. I haven't noticed any major like hormonal issues yet. I don't know if that comes in time, or hopefully this will just be how it is going forward. I know there is a higher risk of ovary failure after you've had the type of surgery I've had, so hopefully I don't have those issues. I also know there's a higher risk of prolapse, where basically your organs can fall, namely bladder, things like that. So hopefully I avoid a lot of those issues. I'm trying to be as good as I can with my resting in hopes that I avoid a lot of those issues going forward. But overall, I feel like the cancer scare definitely forced my hand to have this surgery, but I'm glad for that. I'm happy that I was able to overcome my fear and take care of my health. I definitely wish I would have done it sooner, but you can't go back in time, it is what it is. But I just want to tell you guys, like, if you notice changes and they're extreme, get checked out. Please get checked out. I wish I would have been a little bit more proactive in my health as far as this goes, but hindsight's 2020. But if you notice extreme cramping pain during your periods, extreme bleeding during your periods, passing large clots during your periods, extreme bloating, pain during sex, problems holding your bladder. These are all symptoms for like things that I have had going on. And just go to your doctor, get them checked out, make sure you're going to all your annual exams, get yourself checked out, make time for you and make time for your health. So that is it for this video, you guys. Thank you guys, it was long. Thank you guys for hanging in there. You know, I know sometimes like my channel, I know my channel isn't about this, but I feel like I've always been very open with you guys. My break will probably be cut short because I do feel good enough to film here and there, so keep an eye out for some swatches coming forward from me. Some brands, even though I did say I was taking a break, were sweet enough to still send PR, which I thought was really nice. They were like, oh, you can post whenever, which is very, very sweet. So I do still have some PR to share with you guys, as I feel up to it. I'm hoping to film my top polishes of 2020 here in the next couple weeks. And I'm hoping to just put out some more content for you guys, and my break will be cut short. So I am excited because I have been pretty bored, and so this will be a nice way to kind of take my mind off of things, going forward. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please make sure to click the like button down below. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do. And thanks you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next video, and hope you're having an amazing day. Bye.